Welcome, everyone. Delighted to be speaking with Salo today. Salo is leading a lot of, or very involved with a lot of AI product development here at Myosin, and he is a big fan of Obsidian. So Obsidian, as Salo will describe, acts as a second brain. It's a perfect note taker, and it is a step up from other note takers that you're used to, and can help identify patterns in your thinking, and it helps you both for content development, for coding, for much, much more. Salo, first of all, tell us why we should care about Obsidian.
So first, thank you for having me. A really big pleasure for me to speak about this topic because I'm very passionate about it. Why should you care about it? On a daily basis, we come across many multiple content streams, content production, or there's a ton of information out there. The second question becomes, what do we actually do with that information, right? How do we actually action upon it, and how do we actually leverage that information to our best interest? And if we were in a living room right now in a workshop environment, I would probably ask the room to, by show of hands, who came across a really interesting article recently, a thread, a research paper, I don't know, a strategy doc, something that you found really interesting. And 100% of the room would probably raise their hand, right? The question after that becomes, what did you actually do with that? Did you bookmark it? Probably yes, but did you actually revisit that bookmark? Did you actually leverage that piece of information to your work for your own best interest? And probably hands would start dropping down drastically, if any hand at all would be up by that moment. So for me, and I think this is what I want to convey here today, Obsidian helps stop that. But I also want to make like a short prefix, which is, it's not necessarily about Obsidian by itself. It's a combination of having a note taker, a file structure with folders inside, combined with an AI agent that has a very specific set of rules that I set up for my own Obsidian. You can set up for your own Obsidian. I have a template that I'm more than happy to share with you all, but it's about this combination of a note taker plus an AI agent with a set of rules that are agreed between the human, you, and the AI on how to manage this knowledge base and this knowledge infrastructure.
Awesome. So do you want to show us your setup, and then we can get into more targeted questions about how it's helping you?
Yeah, I think showing setup is a big question in terms of how can we actually go layer by layer. I can share my folder structure, and it at least it gets you an idea of how it's organized. But again, the good thing about Obsidian or any folder structure is that the vault, and when I say Obsidian, I mean the vault, knowledge vault or intelligence vault, it has a baseline, sort of a template, but it can and should and will most likely evolve according to what kind of information you feed it, what kind of information you consume, and how your daily work with Obsidian works. So for me right now, my vault is a pretty simple structure. I don't know if you're seeing it right now on your screen.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's Obsidian for me right now, and you can see this is the knowledge graph. We can get into that later, but it's a fairly simple and straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 directories, folders, and these are mainly about AI agents, meaning new structures of AI agents that I come across. A me folder, meaning a very personal one, my profile, my thinkings, my system patterns, things that are very close to, very personal to me. Projects, which is like, we all have one of these, right? Things you're working on, things you're developing, client projects. This is where this information lives and where it gets updated. Things I'm reading.
Can you tell us where it's stored?
What, sorry?
Where is it stored?
On my local machine.
Awesome.
It could be shared into the cloud as well, to be synced with the cloud. But this is all in my local machine now. Then you have reading, which is, like I was saying, things I come across, X threads, X articles, new reports or studies or ideas of new repositories as well. So everything every knowledge piece that I come across that I think is worthy of me keeping for myself, it's where this lives. And every new bit of information that I leave into the vault or that I give to the AI agent that manages the vault gets filed across everything that I have in the vault. That's why you also see every bit of piece that I have, every bit of information that I fed my vault, it gets these knowledge graphs that has these connections between different files, which is essentially pattern matching or cross-referencing information. So you see there's a couple of like loose notes, but they're very little the ones that don't connect to other things that I've been thinking or reading. So this is like essentially the way the vault it's built out is I have an initial setup where I set up the knowledge initially, things that I'm reading, projects that I'm working, etc. I can also distill conversations from Claude web version or ChatGPT, and this sets up the baseline of the vault. Then I just keep on feeding it information on a daily basis, things that I like. I'm basically the curator of this knowledge, and every time I feed it new information, the AI agent gets that information, cross-references with everything that I have in the vault, links files and notes that are worthy of being linked, and that's where knowledge starts to actually compound, because it's not about just what I'm consuming in that specific moment. It's about how it links to everything else that I've consumed in the past and how it gets me deeper insights or better thinking process moving forward, you know.
Gotcha. How did you come up with this structure? Because as you said, it's very personal. Was there a bunch of iterations? Did you read any good tips?
There were some iterations. I was actually working on my vault before the big Karpathy moment where he came up with the wiki, and you know, but they are essentially similar in structure, which is there's a part of the vault where it's like super personal, and usually not really shareable, and then there's another part which is more regarding to how I work and how I think and my interests. These are like primers, how the vault starts, but then they can diverge specifically. So for example, for me, I study a lot about AI agents and system patterns and you know, architectural decisions of how to build AI and how to use AI agents. But for example, for you, if you're a writer or a marketer, then you're probably going to be consuming more information about, I don't know, writing patterns, copy hacks or ideas, or go-to-market strategies, and your vault will naturally evolve into that direction. Anyway, these file directories here are pretty agnostic, meaning everyone has things that they're reading, everyone has projects that they're working on, everyone has a personal section. What I added here is agents, skills, and workflows. Agents and skills are, since I work so much with AI agents, I want to keep a repository of good AI agents that I can then reach out to my vault and launch on different projects. So every time I develop a new good structure for an AI agent, I want to capture that into my vault. At the same time, if I'm reading about new AI agent papers, I come across a really good design of an AI agent, I capture that and save it, so that if I needed to deploy on another client project, I can reach into my vault and have a library of these AI agents that I can just deploy fast. Same thing with skills, right? Skills are a sequence of tasks that we want the AI agent to do. Whether I'm reading about new skills or whether I'm designing new skills for client projects, it's worthy of encoding that into my vault. So you can see now how the more I work in client projects, the more I consume more information about a certain category like AI agents or skills, I start to get better and better and better, ideally, at more projects and while creating new projects or working with client projects, because every piece of information I consume daily, I feed it into the vault, and when I start a new client engagement, I have all of this knowledge that I carry from client to client, and it keeps on growing over time.
Brilliant.
Am I making sense?
You are, yeah, completely. Let's take it back a step and look at how you actually feed that information into Obsidian.
Sure.
What's the process?
Okay. So let me just quickly share.
Because you can connect Obsidian to your Claude Code. You can also do it manually. What's your process?
Yeah. So let me reshare my Claude Code environment. So just a quick preamble is Obsidian is essentially a directory, a folder directory, right, with several files. If you're used to using Claude Code or Claude Desktop app, you can open a Claude Code session inside of a file structure, right? That's usually how we go about for coding. We open it in a code repository. We can also open a fresh Claude Code session inside of any folder. That means now I almost never use the Claude web version unless for very specific use cases. I literally just open a new Claude Code session inside of my vault structure. That means that every time I ask a question, Claude doesn't need to get a lot more additional context because it can search my vault for a much richer conversation. And at the same time, I don't need to worry about uploading files, understanding if a certain file is already should already be decayed because it's not relevant anymore because the information is not fresh. The vault is always fresh, and that allows me to really start a conversation in a much more richer environment, and I don't need to even worry about managing context. Because I think this is the big advantage I'm seeing with Obsidian. And again, I'm saying Obsidian, but it could be any other tool. It's this file structure, which is when we started using AI models like 2 years ago, prompt engineering was a big component, right? Because it was the only kind of leverage that we could use to make the AI model output better quality, right? And I actually have a graph here that kind of illustrates that. So context windows were so small that we really need to create a good prompt to get good results out of that, right? But as the years gone by, context windows for the amount of tokens kept on growing and growing and growing to an extent that now I use Opus 4.7 with 1 million token context window, which is equivalent to the Lord of the Rings trilogy in a book format, which means that now it's not so much about how we manage the prompt, it's about how we manage context. And that's where the competitive advantage, in my opinion, lies, which is if we both have access to the same model, which could be Claude 4.7 Opus, right? What is the biggest difference that makes my output sound better or worse than yours? It's how we engineer this environment where the model is thinking and rationalizing about information. So for me, this is the huge unlock about Obsidian or this knowledge vault, which is if every time I come across with something interesting, I capture it to my vault, to my drawer of my drawer of knowledge base. That means that every conversation I'm having with my AI agent or every AI agent that I will be launching in the future will be technically better prepared than just using the baseline model. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
So coming back to your question, how I use it, I just open a really simple, just open my Claude Code session inside of my vault. And I have three main workflows that I use when interacting with the vault. So obviously I can make normal questions, but I can also use three main workflows where I feed my vault, essentially, meaning how it stays sharp, okay? So first one of them is what I call the gobble, which is I give it a URL or a source or a PDF or an article. I just throw it into the vault and Claude essentially scans that information, scans the knowledge graph of my vault and understands how should I connect this new piece of information to what you already have inside of the vault. That's workflow number one. Workflow number two is kind of a distill, meaning imagine, for example, you have a really interesting brainstorming session on the web version or on ChatGPT, or you even have a really good conversation in a Google Meet, for example, with a client or with a teammate, and you take that transcript, you take that raw data, and you just dump it into the vault. And again, Claude looks at that raw information and it routes it across the vault on where it's relevant. And then the third one, which is a very powerful one, is usually used after these two, which is how can I look at this raw information and how can I take that as a principle and transform it into a skill? And maybe I can show how these are actually happening because right now I'm being a bit too abstract, right? But I just wanted to like frame these as like the 3 power workflows that I use on a daily basis. And then these can be transformed into other workflows, but that's already me diverging. So let me show you how it actually happens.
Excellent.
So let me open up my Claude. So I'm hoping you can see now my Claude Code window.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So I already pre-prepared these because they take some time to process, meaning Claude needs to scan all the files, need to understand the vault. At every piece of information that I input, it needs to cross-reference against the entire vault. But this essentially here is an X article that I found interesting to scan. It's about how to use Claude Code for SEO. Okay, so it has a bunch of good practices and good prompts. You can see it's huge. I just selected it all, copy and pasted it.
You can't just use the URL.
I could use a URL too.
Okay.
Yes, I could use like URLs. I could just input raw information. I could even take my voice transcripts from my iPhone and just place them here. There's the vault can take any sort of raw input. PDFs, articles, links, everything. And the only thing that I needed to say is, Claude, deep gobble this article and be on the lookout for using Skillify. So right now, Claude understands. He's going to read the rules, and just to show you the sequence, I need to scroll. He's going to start by reading the workflow files, the rules. So he knows the rules of the vault. He now understands the workflows. He has a couple of tools to make the queries more efficient. This is beyond what we need to know now. And he already starts to see there's a strong signal. I can already see that there are adjacent assets of SEO articles that I digested before, like a programmatic SEO playbook that I had before for another article that I wrote. It's already starting to cross-reference again other projects that I'm working on, like Rank Fuel or my agency. And it's already starting to draw these patterns and how they connect to each other. And then it comes back to everything checks out. There is a precedent article for this here, and then it presents the routing plan, which is how is it going to file this information inside of the vault so that I can confirm that this is the most relevant way to actually file it. And notice that I'm not writing any notes, which is something that I find really interesting, because every time we need to file a note, at least that happened to me, every time I saw something interesting and I needed to reach out, I don't know, for Notion, which was my main note taker up until some time ago, I needed to think, where does this piece of information go and where should I file it inside of my Notion? Which section? How do I describe it? And that created so much overhead that when I was actually about to type it, I already forgot what I was going to type, So this just abstracts it all away.
It's friction that stops you from doing it.
Exactly. Because you kind of need to maintain a system. And the way that this is built out, this knowledge vault is built out, is I just give the information, Claude or the AI agent figures out the best way to file it, and I just validate the last moment, which is, here's the routing plan. This is how I'm going to file it. It's going to create like a summary of the article inside of the vault, inside of this path, and then it's going to capture the core argument. This is like a bunch of information that is too dense to see now. It's going to connect to different projects that I'm working on, and you can see here, for example, Rank Fuel, which is an SEO project. It's going to tag it there. There's a bunch of connected skills already that I'm reading here as well, that it's already making that knowledge graph connection. And then look, it comes with two main candidates for skills. And first skill is a competitive gap matrix. He recommends it creating now. And here it explains how it's going to write this competitive gap matrix. And then it comes with a second skill that it's more of a flag, and it's not really recommendations. Like here, it might be interesting. And now I have these, so I went from an article that I would normally bookmark into something that is stored in my vault. It's connected to all of my projects, and at the same time, I'm getting two new skills that I could apply to AI agents for future projects. So you can imagine, this is all just one URL, one article. Imagine how this compounds over time, where everything that I read gets digested into the vault, crossed against all my projects, crossed against all my thinking, and generates assets or artifacts that I can use in client deployments. And again, for me, it's about extracting skills for AI agents, but for a marketer, it could be the best practices or growth hacks for go-to-market. Or for a writer, it could be tips and tricks on how to write in a more persuasive way.
Sure.
You could shape your vault the way you want it. This is like one of my ways that I customize my vault to do so. But you can see how it starts to compound over time, and the vault starts getting smarter, and every conversation that you open on top of the vault is already smarter as well. So next conversation that I open up will already have this SEO article context or another context of another article that I read.
So how would you use this practically? So let's say you're working on a project or you're working on rank fuel, so SEO. You've got a bunch of these articles that are in your Obsidian, and that will help you create a better project, use the different skills. What do you actually use it for?
That's great questions, and it will allow me exactly to do that. And we could try even that right now. We could ask the vault the simple question of, hey, I'm looking to make some upgrades to my rank fuel project for SEO articles production. Scan the vault for best practices and new potential features that I could develop. And this I'm doing right now, but I don't even know what's going to come up. It's probably going to take a couple of minutes to process because it's going to read throughout all the entire vault.
Mm-hmm.
But it will come back with a very rich response of what I've been reading, how I've been thinking, how it crosses to other projects that I'm building. It's probably going to check if I don't have already some features built out in other projects, which is another cool thing, which is it knows what I'm building, right? So the vault knows that I'm working on 6 or 7 different product projects. It will search those projects to see if there's any features already built out that I can just port the code over and just use it, you know? So now it's going through all of the analysis, is reading the rank fuel context project. This is probably going to take a minute, but you will already see if I wanted to ask this specific question in a Claude web version, I would need to export a bunch of PDFs. I would need to give it a bunch of context. It will probably not even know what is rank fuel, you know? Mm-hmm. It could search the web for what are the SEO best practices, what are whatever, but the vault can do that too because it's a Claude Code instance, right? So it can also search the outside of the vault for context, but no other conversation on a web version would be as rich in terms of outputs as what you're going to see right now here happening.
Awesome. How, in your day-to-day, like how regularly are you feeding your Obsidian? And how much upkeep does it take? As in, if some things are no longer relevant, you need to go back in and delete it. I don't think going back and deleting is necessary because every node that goes into Obsidian has a date, and so Claude already understands like, is this still relevant or is this super outdated? As with regards to the upkeep, I think that depends on how often do you come across something that you think is worthy of being crystallized into the vault. But again, it's so easy and it's so little friction to give that to the vault, because I have here another example where I just gave it a paper and I just say, hey, gobble this academic paper on agent systems. And this is just me copying a link and say, ingest it, you know? And it then comes back with a plan on how to store it, what information it's going to store, the projects that it's related to, and I can just say go. So it just needs my go. It's proposing a route. And this takes like 5 minutes, you know? I would say the upkeep is what interests me the most, because I created the system and I don't need to work for the system. The system works for me, which I think is the best way to frame it. Mm-hmm. With every note taker, you create the system, but you become the slave of the system. You need to maintain their system. Mm-hmm. Having an AI agent manage the knowledge system
with a certain set of rules that you agreed upon at the beginning is the best leverage, because you don't become the librarian, you just enjoy the library.
Very good. Very well put. And so what's happening now? So
right now you can already see it's searching. It's using a vector-based search that I added as a tool to make it faster, and it's already surfacing high signal. So he now understands the current state, what is not implemented, what's on the roadmap. The picture is filling fast, and notably the vault already contains substantial rank fuel feature thinking, and he's already mapping it to a bunch of other references of even the one that we just saw, GEO SEO Claude, the article that I showed you that I was ingesting.
mm-hmm.
It's already here being referenced,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's already generating the final plan of what could be some good features for me to build for rank fuel.
Okay.
And again, you can look at this. I'm doing this for a coding project, but
Mm-hmm.
you can apply this to your domain of expertise. And at the end of the day, you are on a daily basis consuming information that you enjoy and that you want to store. That information gets encoded and crystallized into a file structure. But the interesting thing about that file structure is that it's interlinked. So all files have a relationship with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you ask questions, the AI agent is able to read those relationships, how files relate to each other, and come back with a very specific and targeted response on how to explain and how to think with you and how to co-create with you,
Mm-hmm.
which is what's happening here right now.
Mm-hmm. I've also heard that it's very good for recognizing patterns in your thinking, drawing out like the evolution of your thought over
Yes.
different topics, for instance.
Yes, I actually prepared exactly that, which I called the trace workflow.
Nice.
And you can see here, I just start with, hey, trace the evolution of how I think about AI memory. And it's running the trace workflow. So on AI memory. So it starts by, again, reading the entire sections of the vault. It starts to understand how things have evolved, because every note in the vault has a date, right? Mm-hmm. So it understands, okay, 2 months, this is how I'm seeing you think about AI memory. And it has the pre-vault. It doesn't know a lot about what happened pre-vault, but then it has phase 1. It goes from this date to this date. Phase 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see it starts to form this arc of thinking. And now it presents me, and again, look at how it's relating to different files here. Mm-hmm. Whether it's doctrines, whether it's my journey, I also document my personal journey. Mm-hmm. And I don't have personally a lot of patience to like journal in a diary. Mm-hmm. But when I come across something interesting, I just ask Claude inside the vault, journey this or document this. Mm-hmm. And it already knows that it will file a section inside of journey. So you can see it already referencing that. It's crossing against a bunch of different files and folders, and now it presents me with the current state. So you hold memory at 3 levels at once: economic memory, architectural memory, and network memory. And it understands it's productized everywhere: Fleet, Knowledge Vault, Connected Vaults, Only Founders, which is our hackathon project that a couple of Myosin members probably remember. So it starts to connect to all of these different projects that I'm working on as well. Again, I feel like I'm a broken record at this moment in time.
No, it's great.
But you can see from one quick question, it scans my entire thinking. It forms this arc of how my thinking evolved. And then a note on honesty. This is a real arc, not a repetition. Each phase is a shift. And phases 3 and 5 are you actively correcting the naive version of phase 1. So it also understands that I was very naive at the beginning on how I was seeing AI memory, and now I have a much more consolidated view. Mm-hmm. And the way I consolidated my view is as I consumed more papers, more articles, more content that I fed into the vault, it also helped me crystallize my ideas and my thinking and guide me through thinking about something in a better way, in a more robust way, which on a daily basis we would do out of memory, right? Mm-hmm. The good thing about the vault is I can rely on the vault to surface these connections and surface these patterns as I'm using it without me actively remembering it, you know?
I'm going to pause there and jump and get a few questions from the audience before you show some of the other things you pre-prepared. Have you tried Grapify?
Grapify?
How does it compare to Obsidian?
I don't know Grapify.
Okay.
What is Grapify? I don't know.
I imagine it's another data or note taker type tool.
Okay.
And then what Obsidian plan are you on?
0.
So it's free.
I have everything local. Yeah. I have everything local. So that's a good thing and a bad thing, which is to use my vault, I need to use it on my laptop. I do backups from time to time. But if I wanted to get my vault sync between my mobile phone and my laptop, that would be like a $5 plan, I think, something like that.
Awesome.
I prefer to use this stack, which is I have my vault on my laptop locally, and I open Claude Code or Claude Desktop app to use my vault. It's how I've found it to be the best of both worlds, because I don't have Claude Code inside of my phone. And to be honest, most of the time that I'm working on AI stuff, I'm working on my laptop. If by any chance I have something that I came across on my mobile, which happens a lot, I just save the link. And when I'm back on my laptop, I just consume that link. I make the vault ingest it, you know.
Nice. And by connecting your Obsidian to Claude Code, have you seen percentage reduction in your token consumption? And if so, how much?
I wouldn't say. So there's a couple of tricks that you can use for token reduction. Claude Code uses the Obsidian CLI. I gave the QMD, which is like a vector search that allows it to be more efficient. I wouldn't say I reduced the number of tokens, because at the same time, while using Claude Code with the Obsidian, Claude is also consuming more information, but it's not consuming more information in a mindless way. It's consuming what's connected inside of the knowledge graph. So I wouldn't say it uses less, but I found a couple of ways to make it more optimized inside of using a bit more, because I think it actually ends up using a bit more. But for me, the trade-off is worth it, which is I get a much sharper thinking partner, a much sharper and a much more contextual response, you know. So for me, the trade-off is 100% worth it.
Awesome. Okay, we're running out of time a little bit, but is there anything else you want to show us?
Yeah, just one quick showcase. I won't showcase it exactly, but just showing you what the vault could allow, which is I have a basic set of workflows, right? So I showed you like these 3, which I use actively to feed the vault: Gobble, Distill, and Skillify. But then I have other workflows that I use on a daily basis too. These are the ones that I came up with, and I don't want to like intimidate people. I just want to show that there's an endless possibilities of different workflows that you can create. So for example, Converge, which is how have I been thinking about something, help me write about certain topics. Briefs, revise post, that allows me to review a post according to a certain set of lens, write a post, etc. But then these workflows can be combined into they're like primitives that can be combined into really complex workflows. So for example, this is my set to build thought leadership or personal brand content. I start with ingesting an article. I ask the vault to dream and match with different sections that I've been thinking or writing about. I asked it to converge in terms of ranking these ideas of what would be the most interesting one. I choose one. I asked it to create a brief to expand upon that idea. and then I ask it to revise the post, and then it's ready to ship. So this allows me to be
consequentially, like, do you need to
I just need to call the thought leadership workflow, for example.
Okay.
And it knows it will do these in sequence, for example.
And just distinguish workflow from skill.
A skill is something that I can port outside of my vault to any AI agent deployment, any project that I engage with a client. A workflow is similar, but it only works inside my vault. If I try to port it out, it's not going to work because it's not generic enough or abstract enough to work outside of the vault. That's the only difference. But at the end of the day, there are a set of rules that the AI agent can use to execute something in a predetermined way. The only thing that workflow is only works inside of the vault, but skills work inside of the vault and outside on any client project in the wild.
Damn, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm hoping I got some more people vault pilled.
Yeah.
I really can't stress it enough, because for me, this was like my second big holy smokes AI moment. Like, this unlocks so much more. And I really can't stress enough how important I think it is for everyone to start creating their own vault. It doesn't need to be Obsidian. It doesn't need to use Claude Code. Forget the tools. Focus on the principle, which is, how do you start accumulating knowledge of what is relevant for you and your work stream and your daily jobs, so that every conversation with AI in the future is better, is more contextualized, and can actually help you think better and work better. That's my, if you guys could take a key takeaway, this is it.
Beautifully articulated, Salo. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
See everybody's delighted in the comments. We'll leave it there and join us again next week.
Thank you. My pleasure. And I'm happy to share the template of the vault, whoever wants it. It's already on GitHub, but I'm happy to share it with you all. And it will be my pleasure to share it.
Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Take care, everyone.
See you.